welcome to another episode of the Church Mandem podcast. Today is going to be quite different because we've got some special guests. We have, I'll let everyone introduce themselves. So first, Ola, I went to university with Ola, so I'll let him introduce himself and then he can introduce his cousins and then they will introduce themselves.
Hi everybody, my name is Ola, as Michael just said, or Olaolu, which is the full version. I went to uni with this guy. I had the displeasure of also living with him for a year. No, but we go back many years now, and yeah, that's just me. And you've got my cousins on the call, Kanye and Lolade, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Okay. So who's going first? Kanye.
You can go first.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Lolade Ajayi. I am a professional chartered accountant. I work with one of the big fours, KPMG. Been there for about 12 years now. 33. What else? I'm a Christian. Yeah, I love God. I think that's it. That's about me.
Cool.
Perfect. Yeah. Everyone, my name is Kanye Aluko. I live in Arizona in the United States. I'm 27 years old. I'm a claim specialist for a large insurance company, and I'm also a Christian. And yeah, I'm ready to dive right into the topics.
Right. So today is called The Struggle is Real. So everybody on this Zoom right now is single. Am I right?
That's right.
So the reason why we're doing this today is I woke up yesterday and I opened my WhatsApp and there was a lot of noise going on in the group that I'm in with Ola. I didn't read much of it, but then I went on Instagram and I saw he was advertising you two ladies, which I'll reserve my opinion on that so far. I don't want to annoy you straight away. But so I saw the advertisement and I said, okay, we've dealt with this issue a lot on this podcast, especially men versus women and the struggle of why people are not getting married. But I wanted to hear initially your perspectives on why you think you're not married. Because I know in Nigerian culture that at your respective ages, the pressure must be really hard on you. Because I know kind of like when you leave university, you're expected to be married like a day after you leave. That's my experience anyway. So why do you think you're not married? And I'll start with Lolade.
I was going to say that maybe going forward you should prompt the person instead of us guessing. Yeah. Okay, so why do I think I'm not married? Well, I would say maybe much earlier in my early years. Maybe I just didn't know what I wanted then. Now I'm very clear about myself. I know myself now, and I know what I want and what I don't want, and I just haven't found that one person yet. I haven't found that one person yet. The guys I've been meeting lately haven't been up. They haven't crossed the bar yet. They haven't.
So that leads me.
I guess for me it's more like. Yeah. For me it's more like I think you should wait. Until you find the right one in quotes, and then for it rather than just jumping into it and then having to jump out a few months after down the line or a few years down the line. Yeah.
So what are you looking for in a man?
Well, for me, it's first of all, he has to be God-fearing. We come from a very Christian home. I mean, my cousins can testify to the Christianity, so he has to be God-fearing. Yes, and then I think for me, another important thing is communication. So we should be able to vibe, we should be able to talk. He should be able to engage me. We should be able to engage in solid conversations, should have similar ideologies and values. Because if we do not have the same values, then we're not heading anywhere. So I think those are the critical points. The rest are subjective, so you can decide if you want to live with this or not live with it. But for me, the critical things are, he has to be a Christian, we have to vibe, we should be able to vibe and communicate, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Is it Queen?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so yeah. So what's your story? Why do you think you're not married, and what are you looking for in a man?
I feel like our generation has really cheapened the dating process. I'm a very old soul, so I feel like traditionally speaking, I haven't found what I'm looking for. I definitely feel like the man is responsible for the initial pursuit and courting a woman. So for me, I just haven't found someone that has, one, gotten the approach right, two, been persistent and consistent with their pursuit of me,
Right.
and actually take seriously. Because there are some men that have tried and then either given up if they haven't gotten what they wanted, and that's a whole nother topic. But I just feel like in our generation, and it's both men and women, they've made it so easy to have sex with the other person, Netflix and chill with the other person, and that's just not really my style. So that's why I'm not married.
Okay, and so what are you looking for in a man that you haven't found yet?
So I think it's a layered question, right? There's a lot of things that I haven't found yet, or there's qualities that I can see in one man or multiple men that I haven't found in just one man. So I think it starts from the very beginning of the initial approach. Like, I definitely don't want a situation where a man is shooting himself in the foot because he can't get his approach right. Um, Oftentimes when I go out and a man approaches me, sometimes he can say some off-putting things, like they'll comment on my body, or they'll, I don't know, come up with a corny pickup line. Like, I just feel like most of the time it's not genuine. Most of the time I can see through the quote unquote, I guess a nice way of putting it, is a facade. And that's just not attractive to me. So I'll say no, or, I'll kind of give them the cold shoulder. So the approach for me, the initial approach, is everything to me. And then showing after that, you're serious, or you've noticed certain things about me that you like, because oftentimes I'll ask them, like, so what exactly do you like about me? And they struggle with that question. Like, if you can't even answer why you like me in the very beginning, then I don't know what else there is to talk about. And I'm a very straight shooter. Like, I love to, like, cut to the chase and be direct with people. And my communication style isn't for everybody. So some men take offense to it. Like, I'm just trying to get to know you, but you can't even tell me what exactly is attracting you or what is making you interested in me in the first place. So that's another thing. And then some men initiating conversation, just being consistent, like texting or calling. If it's going to be something where we're getting to know each other, and especially in this climate with COVID-19, you have to be consistent with communication, because the chances are we're not going to see each other every day. So I feel like, personally speaking, I lose interest when I see a guy isn't being consistent, and I'm not the type of person to pick up our conversation where we left off like 3 days ago if you all of a sudden remember to message me back. It's just not how I operate. So I definitely am looking for consistency. The obvious things, obviously, is a man of God. That's huge and important in my family and my cousin's family. We come
So
from
is it
Christian.
important to you?
Yeah, it's very
It'd be
important.
important in your family, but that's just tradition. Is it important to you?
No, it is, because the reason is, I feel like marriages come with some hardships, and there's going to be ups and downs in any relationship.
Yeah.
But if you have God as the center point of the foundation of your relationship, I feel like it's successful than if God wasn't in the center of your relationship. He should be the main focus. And I mean, I can't speak for believers, but I just feel like I've seen more successful relationships as far as Christian households where both partners are in agreement with what they want, and there's not a reason to have dissension on especially religion, because religion is a big part of my life. So if it's not a big part of my spouse's life, I could see that causing issues.
Right. So I want to ask you both, and I'll ask you first. You both say you're looking for godly men. Do you think there's a lack of truly godly men?
Yes. To put it nicely, yes. I think, like I said, this generation, and it's not necessary. Well, I don't want to say it's not their fault, but I just feel like men get caught up with what their friends are doing or what the social norm is, and they forget sometimes their home training, their values, their morals. Like, and I know that because I have some male friends I've talked about this where they admit they've made mistakes in the past and they've got caught up, so to speak. So I don't know how else to say it, but yeah, I do.
Okay, Lolade?
Yeah, I agree with Coin. I feel like there there are not so many godly men around anymore. I think they I mean I think a lot of men have the ideology of they need to test before you jump in, and for me, I take a step back. I'm not very quick to make those sort of decisions. So I need to take a step back and find out what exactly this guy wants. There are not that many anymore. Some people just want to hit it and move on to the next best meal. Yeah. Some others, yeah. Some others just want to feed on you. Yeah, they've seen the money bag, and no, there are not that many godly people around me.
Okay, so now I'm going to bring in Ola. So what have you got to say about this? You're a man. Why do you think you're single? And what's your opinion based on what you've heard thus far from your cousins?
I agree with what they've said. I think when you look at the church as a whole, it's automatically just breaking it down on a mathematical level. The ratio of women to men is probably like around 2.5, 3 to 1.
Yeah.
So automatically there's a problem.
Yeah.
The supply of men is less than the demand for men. And then on top of that, you still have to wait for the man to approach you. And then you're hoping he's the right caliber of man, or the man that you find attractive, or the man that is actually genuine in his faith. So we do have a problem with that. In terms of me personally, why I'm single, I just felt I wasn't ready. God really had to work on my character. God really had to build and develop me to the man I am right now.
Yeah.
And that was a process, that was a journey, and I didn't feel it was. And I also, one thing about me, I've always kind of understood. I have always had quite a deep perception of my times and seasons. So, my background, obviously, I'm an accountant. I'm a chartered accountant as well, but I'm also an entrepreneur. And I knew that the journey that God was taking me in terms of entrepreneurship in that season of my life meant that a woman was not priority, or a wife was not priority. So for me, there is no point, number one, wasting my time, wasting my money, wasting my effort, and then also breaking somebody's heart and my heart in the process, when that is not what God has called me to in that season of my life. And that was the hard choice I had to make, despite maybe not just family pressures, but even my pressures and also my desires. And understanding actually what is the order. And ultimately, it just boils down to obedience. So that's for me, why I had been single up to this point, where now I am actively looking.
Okay, so do you think so you said obviously there's a lot more women than men, but do you actually believe a lot of these women are godly, or they're just in church?
A lot of them they don't have the right character, in my opinion. For me, one thing about me, even when I've been on this journey, sometimes what I'll do, one thing about women I've noticed, they betray themselves with their words. Their words give them away. So it doesn't take much for you to ascertain the character of a woman.
You're getting very political right now. You can be free.
I'm keeping it political. It might take some time, but eventually her words will expose the heart, because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Right.
And one thing I've noticed is because of their natural inclination to look for security, they don't know how to build with a man. So they will say all the right musings about, I want to go on that journey with a man to, etc., build with him, but ultimately something in their words will make you understand that they're not about this journey.
Yeah.
And I've brazenly had women say certain things to me are red flags that you just think, well, wait, is that your definition of a red flag? Right. Because man is trying to work on his vision. So things like that has made me understand. And a lot of them, they don't have resilience, and that's something.
But why do you think this is, though? What do you think is behind this? Because you would say, like, your parents' generation, like, those ladies had the resilience, so they had the right character. What is it about now that
social media?
Social media. Sorry, can I ask Lolo, what do you mean by resilience, if I may ask?
Resilience and just being able to overcome adversity. Okay, so you guys know my story. I was born with sickle cell.
Nice.
That has been a hurdle for some women, and for me, when the women I've tended to notice that in are women that have not had to overcome challenges in their life. Things have been relatively straightforward. And so that's what I meant. And so if they don't have that resilience, then what happens in marriage when challenges come? And ultimately they do come. So that's something for me personally that I look for. Now, I can't remember what you asked me a question. You asked me a follow-up question. I can't remember now, before a lot of days.
I think it was about the godly woman. So I was talking about
social media and novelists like Jane Austen and Charlotte Bronte. No, in all honesty, what I've noticed with women is that they also have a lot of unrealistic expectations. And I don't really want to expose people, but it's some of the things that I've heard said to me. I'm just thinking, is this really how you're thinking as a 30-plus-year-old woman? That life is full of rose-tinted,
So
houses. So yeah.
I wanted to come back to the ladies because, Koyan, especially, you talked about approach a lot of times, right? And so that's important to you. Do you think that you could be a part of the problem? As in, men approach you in the wrong way because of the way you present yourself?
No, because I have standards. So if I'm not even feeling the way that you're approaching me, why should I give you a chance? I'm not obligated to say yes. I'm not
saying that you should give them a chance, but I'm saying, could part of the problem of men approaching you in the wrong way be the way you present yourself? You're saying that you present yourself in the most perfect way, so therefore the approach should always be correct because you presented the correct persona.
Shall I break that down? What Michael was trying to say?
We talked about this. So my cousin talked about this. He looked on my Instagram page. He told me to archive a couple of pictures. I like to dress up. I love fashion, and sometimes I can be, maybe a little bit revealing, but I don't think that it's appropriate for men to come up and say, you have a nice ass, or damn, I really like your body. Like, you may think that, there's nothing wrong with thinking that, but I don't think that.
But that's another story.
Okay, so let's get really real. So I'm a person who does research, right? So Lalade's profile wasn't open, but yours was.
Yeah.
So Ola knows me, right? I've been two people in this life, or maybe three. There was the what can I say? Pre having a relationship with God and post having a relationship with God. Ola, what did I say to you when I saw the profile?
I can't remember your exact words now.
What was the gist?
Basically, it don't run. And basically, if it was him pre Christ, he would have been all up in that, in the wrong way.
But it wouldn't have been for a relationship.
Yeah. So that was what I was trying to allude to, that the way guys register certain things and process that is very different to the kind of perception women will expect of the man to have. I told you, men are very visual. On a very basic level, we're very primitive. So, and when we don't have a foundation in God, we look to satisfy our innate desires to be conquerors, to be leaders in vices. And so that usually means things like sleeping around and having multiple sexual partners. So for a man, it doesn't matter if you know who you are as a Christian, as a believer. The image he will be picking up is completely different. That this woman is about it, this woman is this, or this is that. I'm being genuine now. I'm telling you how men think.
No, but listen, this is that happens all the time to me. And you're saying based on my profile picture, which didn't really show much of anything, just my curves. So
the whole Instagram profile.
What? I haven't changed.
Huh?
I haven't changed my Instagram profile.
No, I'm saying I did the research, and even a couple of guys in the group did the research because you were advertised, so we had to see, okay, what was all advertising. So we went to the Instagram profile, looked through it, and we made our judgments. But I'm going to come back to you. Lalade, do you think how you present yourself makes a difference?
Just like one thing.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Regardless of whether I archived a couple of pictures or not, this is what I'm telling you, the reality of the situation. I could be at a restaurant with my sister. I'm wearing a pair of skinny jeans because that's what we wear these days, and it hugs my curves. And I could be wearing a shirt like this that covers everything. But because curves, you can see my silhouette. It's the same thing. So I don't really agree with that. And I don't, because that's kind of like, I hate to like compare it to rape culture, but you could say it's a woman's fault because she's dressed a certain way. No, a man's going to rape a woman if he wants her or not. Like, it's the same thing. I don't agree with your statement. Yes, you can make you can try to figure me out based on my profile picture or whatever the case may be. Or you could, I'm about that or whatever you guys just said, but I don't agree with me having to cover up my body because I'm a Christian or because I'm supposed to attract a certain type of man. I think it's up to the man to determine if I'm wife material, 1, 2, if I'm worth the pursuit, and 3, how he should go about getting me or, pursuing me.
Isn't that based on what you present?
No, not really, because there's a lot of women that are conservatively dressed that also get screwed over by men that just want to get in their pants.
That's the truth, but wouldn't the chances be higher?
No.
Okay. All right.
That's just how it goes.
We'll part this. I want to ask Lalade, so what's your opinion on this about presentation? Do you think the way you present yourself determines the attention you get?
Well, I think that a man shouldn't disrespect a woman despite or in spite of what she has on or how she looks. Right. I mean, a man that is forthright, a man that has sense, would try and get to know the person first and try to understand who the person is, what the person is like, and then determine or decide whether it's something or someone he wants to try it out with or not. So how I dress shouldn't really determine or place a value on who I am. You need to be able to assess the content rather than the container. I mean, because the content is everything. I mean, you grow old, your looks, you give birth, you have kids, your body won't be the same, and then what next? You're going to leave me because, so I think what should attract a guy is more of who the person is rather than the physical attributes of the lady.
And this for me is where there is a very there's a very obvious divide between women's perception and what
is reality.
Because the way you guys have broken it down shows that is your expectation. But how guys, and I'm being genuine, how guys process certain things is totally opposite. And that's before we've even given you a chance to get to know you. Like that, and that's just how it is.
I can appreciate that, but that goes back to my original point. You can have someone that's conservatively dressed and still face the same challenges as someone who's a little more confident in their style of clothing or body or whatever. We all face the same challenges. Like, me and my cousin have talked about, our experiences with men, and it's the same. And she's not very, I guess you would call it, revealing with how she dresses, but it's the same, especially when you meet a guy in person. Like you said, men are visual, right? They can picture things in their head. So even if I'm dressed conservatively, but they see shape, they're going to picture something in their head automatically, regardless of whether I'm showing a little bit of skin or not. I can be dressed in an all black dress, a turtleneck dress, from up here to my ankles, but they can still see my shape. So it's the same thing.
But there's a difference between something that hugs your figure and something that gives a bit of room, isn't there? So if it's hugging your figure, then you might as well just be wearing nude spandex, because it's the same thing. So there's modest, okay, you can call it modesty, something that will still show you're a woman, but not necessarily show every bump. And then there's stuff that's just going to show everything, right? You admit that, right?
No, necessarily. Like I said, I could be wearing jeans too, skinny jeans. It hugs my curves.
Skinny jeans is still hugging your curves. That's the point.
Pants? I don't get it.
I'm not telling you what to wear. I'm just saying there's a difference, right?
I don't think that what you wear defines who you are. It shouldn't define who you are. I don't think we should dwell.
You're talking about how you want things to be. We're trying to deal with the reality of how men view things.
No, I know how men view things. Yeah. I'm not just. What I'm saying is you should not judge a book by its cover, or think that, I'm whatever you said earlier about how I'm down.
Exactly. So
whatever.
That's just the reality.
Because at the end of the day, I think for the most part, especially in 2020, come on, let's be very, very honest and very clear here. I don't know too many women, even conservatively dressed women, that don't show off their body with something that clings to even whether it's what you consider a good figure or not a good figure or whatever they can be.
Okay, but you're talking about the majority. I don't care about the majority.
No,
I'm a Christian, so I care about what the minority are doing.
In general, the quote unquote conservative dressed woman is not going to put a potato sack over her body. Okay, all it.
Well, why have you gone to the extreme? You can still be conservatively dressed and not look like a 9-year-old woman.
Just said the turtleneck dress is, hugging my curves. So do you want me to wear a potato sack?
No, I'm not. This is not about me telling you what to wear. But what I'm saying is, you've gone from the figure-hugging dress to a potato sack. There is a middle ground.
How is there a middle ground?
There are clothes that are tight enough to show you're a woman, but loose enough not to show every lump and bump.
I'm not going to struggle into a piece of material to show off my body. There's a lot of things like bodycon dresses and certain material that are stretchy, but it's still going to emphasize, like, it's going to show off my curves.
Okay, so, I don't want us to get bogged down into,
saying that there's something in between. No, we need to address this. This definitely needs to be. Because when you're saying that there's something in between, what is the in between? Give me an example, because I really want to hear this. Because I just gave you 3 examples. I gave you a turtleneck dress.
Right.
I gave you. I literally right now, if I stood up, you will see my curves, but I'm wearing jeans. So what would you like me to wear, sir?
Why have you turned this into me telling you what to wear?
Because you said a very big.
Because I said there's another way. You're saying like there's no other way to dress.
What way? I'm asking.
There's what I call modesty, where I said tight enough to know you're a woman, but loose enough to not see every single curve.
Give me an example of the type of clothing you're talking about.
I can't. I'm not a woman. I can't tell you the exact clothes. I could show you a picture, but I. Huh?
You have no idea what I'm talking about. That's what I'm
Why?
saying.
I have a mother who dresses like a woman, right? She's obviously quite old, but I've seen pictures of her as she's gone through the stages of her life, and she didn't look like an 80-year-old when she was 40. She dressed appropriately, but her clothes, like I said, were tight enough so you could know she was a woman, but loose enough so that you didn't see every inch of every curve. Like if she had a credit card in her skirt, you wouldn't see the numbers like in the back pocket because it was loose enough, but it wasn't a potato sack.
So what was she wearing?
What do you want me to do? Name the exact? I don't know the exact names of the
dresses. Dresses.
I'm trying to explain to you. Sorry, say that again.
That weren't taken in at the hips.
Is she curvy?
She is in some regards, yeah.
In some regards?
Yeah, she's quite curvy. I mean, she doesn't have she's mixed, so she doesn't have the backside that maybe a lot of Nigerians have, but she's quite big up top. And so she didn't like, I've never seen my mom wear anything where I could see the parting between her breasts. And I've never seen her wear anything that's skin tight. And if she wore something tight, she would like a jacket over it kind of thing. So there was always a kind of modesty. You would not see every lump and bump on my mom. You just wouldn't see it ever.
Well,
but
according to you,
dressed...
but continue.
Sorry, say that again.
Your mic keeps cutting, Kanye, that's why.
Yeah.
You just said that your mom doesn't really have...
Well,
okay, but I know women with big backsides who dress appropriately. So they have a big backside, but they will wear something that is not necessarily...
Asking you, what are they wearing? I need to know the secret to modesty.
Okay, offline, I will send you all of the the designs or something. But Lalade, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that not every girl will dress like your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Every girl has their sense of style,
right.
and they get what they're comfortable in.
Mm-hmm.
But I still maintain the fact that how I dress shouldn't define who I am. And yeah, there's some guys that are very superficial, shallow. I mean, once they see you and they feel like that's the next thing to do. But for the mature ones, the Christians and the mature ones, they would actually take it a step further to want to know you, get to know who you are, and then decide. I mean, both of you decide, because really it's not a one-way thing, it's a two-way thing. So the guy can decide that he wants to be with you and the girl doesn't want to be with you. So it's a two-way thing. The Bible says that I find a wife, blah, 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 blah. But I mean, if you find me and I don't choose to be found by you, I mean, then it's not going to work. So first of all, I don't think the dressing should define who you are. I also believe in modesty, but I mean, and dressing appropriately. But I mean, a guy that comes after me for what I'm wearing is most likely going to be a superficial or shallow guy.
Okay.
So,
but what if I say
I don't want us to dwell on the dressing.
No, I don't. But what if I say to you on that regard, what's on your inside will show on the outside, and everything is a package. So I, as a man, obviously your character is important, but I believe your character will be expressed in outward forms, i.e. the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, the way you relate to people, including the way you dress. Well, let me give you an example. So when I saw the profile, I said, this is what I said in my mind. I'm going to give you my rawest thoughts. This girl watched Real Housewives of LA or Love and Hip Hop. That's what I thought. That's what came to my mind, because that's all I saw. I just saw American reality TV. Do you watch American reality TV?
No, not really. So that's why
But that's what came to my mind, right? Because everybody has a perception, right? So that was my perception. That was my initial perception. That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
That's perception. That's an assumption. Perception based on something you've seen of the person. You haven't seen me. You've never met me. You're going based on one picture. So that's an assumption.
Okay, and it was an assumption. It was an assumption. But you, when I asked you earlier, I asked both of you, I think, and I think both of you agreed that you said that you didn't think you were any parts of the problem with the way you was approached, right? You didn't think it was anything that you put out that determined why you got approached the way you did. I'm trying to tell you that's crazy, because whatever you put out, good or bad, determines the way you're approached. And let me give you an example. When I was at university with Ola, and I was, let's say I was a naughty boy, I would approach girls based on what they put out. Now, that's just not what they wore, but what I could see of them. But mainly, because we're visual, it would be my perception of what they wore, and then I would work on what I saw of them. That would determine the way I approach them, right? So if I saw a very conservatively dressed girl, I knew that I could not approach her in the same way I could approach the girl who didn't dress conservatively. It just wouldn't work. I had to change up my approach. So my approach was dependent on the person in front of me. I didn't have a one-size-fits-all approach. Because, like, for example, there was some girl I saw on the dance floor, and I just went up to her and said, so when are you going to dance with me? I couldn't do that to certain other girls because I know I'd probably either get slapped, or they would just be like, who does this guy think he is? So I tailored my approach to every girl I saw. I didn't have a one-size-fits-all because I was trying to make sure that my approach was right for the person. So the way people approach you, for the most part, is determined on what you put out. Not just your clothes, but everything. Okay, so in response to that, I gave you one example of how I can be approached, and it can be, to me, off-putting. Right. But there's the other side of the coin, too, with the so-called good guys. I don't even know how to give an example, but there's so many different ways a man can be off-putting with his approach. I was just giving one example. Correct. As far as something gross that they can say about me, but even on the other side, I think a lot of men consider themselves nice guys, and they can be really bitter towards the bad men or bad guys because sometimes, and this is just the reality of the situation here, bad guys have figured out a way to approach women in a way that is appealing. And sometimes good men, they can be very awkward. They can be weird. Like, they'll make eye contact with you, but then they'll stare, and they're so nervous, they don't know what to say. And then they turn away, then they talk to their male friends, or they'll try to send one of their male friends over. I do not want you to send your friend over if you're trying to talk to me. So in general, I was talking about approach, not just necessarily, I know what you're saying, like, obviously dress could be perceived a certain way, but assuming that I watch Real Housewives of Atlanta, or LA, that's a completely different thing. So you kind of like veered off to the right there. But as far as like a man approaching me based on what I look like, I can see that. But that's not like most men with sense, they wouldn't do that. I was just saying in general, some of them, their approach is very off-putting. And they could even come up respectfully, and that's off-putting because of saying or how they're saying it. Delivery is everything. So I guess I don't, go off too much on a tangent on that subject, but I was just saying in general, approach is very, very important. And that kind of whether I'm going to give you a chance or not, because you're the one who decided to come up to me. I didn't come up to you. I didn't give you the time of the day. You came up to me to try and get my attention. So you got to know how to do it the right way. And like you said, most women are different. For maybe another woman that would work, or maybe she would laugh at it like, what? And then she'd still talk to you. For me, it's a no-go. I'm not talking to you. I'm going to turn my face away from you because there's nothing more to talk. That's interesting, right? So for both of you now, a guy could still approach you in a wrong way, but still be a good guy. Yeah. So you've just lost your chance of a great husband because you have this rule that if he doesn't come to you in the right way the first time, that's it. I don't know if I'm explaining this the right way. Cecilia, has
happened to you where a man, a quote unquote good guy, has approached you, but either what he's saying is not connecting with you, or I don't know, like it's just something
You're
is
saying like
wrong.
the whole conversation is just off.
It's off. There's
Okay.
nothing there.
Right.
To get your, there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing to talk about. So it's a no.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
So for me, what I do is, I mean, when I meet a guy for the first time, we probably go on a date or something. I don't make a decision then. So I try as much as possible to meet with the person maybe twice or thrice, and then make up my mind like this is not going anywhere. So I give you the benefit of the doubt once, the first time when I meet you, and then I make excuse for you the second time, but the third time, I mean, I think by the third time I would have known exactly where we're headed with this, and then we move on when necessary. Yeah.
So in all of your interactions with males, you every single person you've met has just failed the test in some way or the other.
Oh God. The one that is it the one that has asked me for money in the first week of meeting the guy? He a few days after he came to say his mom is traveling to Canada, pocket money, kiniko. He's expecting some money. He wants to borrow money from me, you know. Coin the guy, Coin, please, don't please, I beg. Just so he wants to borrow money from me. He'll give me back as soon as money comes. Maybe tomorrow, I'll get that money. But I mean, you can tell the kind of person he is, or the guy that set up a date with you. I'm not very organized, but I can be organized. So you set up a date, you don't know where you're going. You give me the name of a location, but you don't know where it is. And then you come late, you keep waiting. And then, you're having conversations with somebody right in front of you, and the whole restaurant can hear you. Oh my goodness. What do I even want to start from?
It sounds like it's been very traumatic.
It has been very traumatic for me. It's been very, very traumatic for me.
I guess the point I'm trying to get to with both of you is, since you are both the common denominator in this situation, what part do you think you play in this problem? Because it sounds like you're blaming just the men, but you've got to be a part of the problem. What in you do you think could be causing a problem? Or are you just perfect?
No, I never said I was perfect. I don't think she thinks she's either. But I will speak for myself as far as situations, I guess, self-sabotaged or something. I feel like sometimes when I get to a certain stage with a man, and I know what I want, but I feel like we're not on the same page, I'd rather just cut things off, or it causes a disagreement of some sort. And I'm the type of person where in the moment, if I'm really upset with you, I can say certain things. They could be true, but they can be kind of hurtful. So I can...
I'm the kind of guy to walk away from that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been the reason why some situations have ended. And, I'm not saying that I'm perfect either, but I'm just saying sometimes I feel justified in what I'm saying, but then there's also the maturity side of it, is not everything that you're thinking needs to be said. So I definitely take responsibility for, my actions and what has caused the debacle of some situations in the past.
Okay, so it's not always been the men. Sometimes it could have been you.
I never said. I'm just saying, for me, what's important to me from the beginning to the end, like, you need to be consistent, and the approach needs to be everything to even get in the door. And then when we start, dating, obviously I'll see certain things in you. You'll see certain things in me that you like, and we can go from there. But some men can't even get to that stage because they're so impatient and they want certain things, or they'll, I don't know, they just won't show me consistency. And to me, I'm not the type of woman, like my cousin said, she's very patient with men. So she will give them the benefit of the doubt. She'll go on a date with them to see what they're all about. If I'm not even feeling you before the date, I'm not going to go on the date with you. I'd rather just not go down that path. I'm very cut and dry when it comes to certain things like this. I'm very picky. I can't fake the funk either. Like if it's a bad date, you're going to see it all over my face. I'm going to stop talking to you. I'm going to start looking like, when is it go? Like, I'm tired. Like I'm done. Like I'm very transparent. Even if I didn't say anything, you would see it written all over my face. So I wouldn't even waste my time. I wouldn't waste his time either.
Right.
I think that's a family trait.
I was gonna say, Ola, these are your cousins, so you have a bit of insight than me. All I have is Koyan corrected me earlier. All I have is assumptions since I can't perceive anything. So we're gonna keep that. I ain't gonna argue with you on that. So you know them better than me. What do you think could help them in their current situation?
I don't know, and I think also we have to bring culture into this as well, because for example, my cousin Lolade is in Nigeria, so that's why she's had certain experiences in terms of guys being brazen enough to ask for money. With Frank, it's.
Can I just say, I mean.
That's everywhere. A lot of men these days, because they think they're the prize, and some women are so desperate, like you said, even in the church. Are we not the prize? No, listen, even in the church, like you said, there's more women than men. So because there's natural shortage of men, some women can be desperate. And some men take advantage of that. Like they'll ask you for money. Like I had a guy tell me that he lost his, was it debit card or credit card? And he said, if you purchase something for me, as soon as I get my replacement, because someone tried to, commit fraud on my card, I'll pay you back. I said, why don't you just wait until you get the card to make that purchase? He's like, oh, what? You don't think I'm good for it? Huh? It's just like stuff like that. Men have tried to ask me for money too, but the difference is like, I'm not that girl. I'll laugh at you and I will never give you the money. My cousin is very, I'm not that nice. She's very nice.
Sorry, go on, Ola.
Coming back to your question, to be honest, I don't. There's just a generational problem. Above both sides of the gender spectrum, like the gender lines. Men don't know how to. I just think we have such a breakdown in biblical manhood and womanhood, and because we're trying to navigate that, it's throwing up a lot of issues. Or sources of contention, and to be honest, I don't really know how we overcome that or transcend that. So to be honest, I don't really even know what my advice to them would be, because at the end of the day, the guy still has to approach, right? Especially if you're a traditional woman that believes it's the man that should pursue, you're not going to be going out there and trying to pursue men. So you have to wait for them to pursue you. And then if they're not stepping to you correctly, then that's going to be a problem. I do think there has to be a level of patience that is exercised, because you may have an ideal in terms of how the approach should be.
Yeah.
But often at times, especially quote unquote, the good guy does not know that, because he's not gone through that experience with a lot of women. I think there has to be a certain level of patience shown, and I'm speaking in terms of my experience very recently, where someone's just saying everything. They're just saying, call me, but don't call me. I don't like to be on the phone. Okay, so how am I supposed to get to know you? Or it's going too fast, but at the same time, I would have expected this from you.
Yeah.
How can you have expectations of somebody that you've only known for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you're telling them also at this on the same side of the coin that things are moving too fast? Like, what do you want from me?
I can testify to that too, right? So, in a different way. So you've got the good guy, right, who might have been like a good church boy all his life, and he really hasn't approached many women, so he doesn't really know what to do, but he's a good guy. And then you've got a guy like me who's been a bad guy, but now that he's actually changed, I can't approach a girl in the way I used to, because I have to forget all of my manipulative ways. Because anytime I met a girl before, if she was attractive, everything I said to her was with an agenda. So I was planning the whole time, okay, she's attractive. So even the way I look at her, the way I talk to her, it's all going to be planned. Now I've had to relearn how to approach women, because now I'm not just looking at a woman as an object. I'm looking at a woman as something God has created, right? And that she is special. And so therefore, when I approach women now, I can't bring that old person, that old game. So now, even for me, not that I haven't really approached anyone. It's been 8 years now since I really got saved. I haven't approached any girl on that level. But if I was to think about how I would do it now, it would be strange for me. And I might come across awkward, and I'm not awkward. But I might come across awkward because I'm trying to not be the guy I was before. I'm trying not to manipulate her. I'm trying not to get her to like me and me just be like on the edge. Because what I would do before is I'll get girls to like me, but I'll never commit to liking them, because then I can play them. Because it was all about manipulating. It was all about psychology. It was all about winning the mind of a girl so I could have her body. Because I knew if I get a girl's mind, I can do anything with her. So I've had to turn that off. And now I'm approaching a girl in a whole different way. It would be awkward for me now to have a conversation that is leading to marriage, because I technically don't know where to start.
I can relate to that, actually, because you are conscious of the fact that also this is a child of God. So if this is a child of God, how can you have such, I don't know, just be so cavalier in how you approach and how you treat her? And that, for some women, especially in the church, and this comes back to my point. We've picked up a lot of things from the world, and we're still trying to marry it with a biblical standard. And so you're expecting what some women, you still want the quote unquote good guy, but you want a guy with an edge.
You want the bad guy swagger.
That's
what a lot of church girls want. Look, she's smiling. You want a bad guy swagger, but a good boy.
No, I'm smiling because me and friends had a conversation about this.
Yeah.
A while ago. Like, what is it about bad guys that women like? They have certain qualities that I think that good guys they don't possess. Some good guys do have it, and they're kind of like a hybrid, but I
unicorns.
Think unicorns, far and few in between. But I think that most women don't necessarily want a bad guy, and I think that is something that has been kind of pushed on us by movies. I don't know, society, that's right. What we want. Not what we want, but there's certain qualities that they have, like spontaneity. Like, I think that bad guys are very spontaneous. Like, when they want to impress you, it's literally in the spur of the moment. And women love to be swept off their feet. Most good guys, I would say, don't really have that level of excitement that they bring to the table. And that could be why there's that ugly perception that women only want the bad guy. I think that there has to be, I mean, like I said, I've seen qualities because I've dated. Okay, so I've seen qualities in men that I like. It could be one here, one there with the men that I just wish was all in one man. And that's something that could possibly be taught over time, like you learning what I like and, my dislikes.
It has to be learned over time, because you're never going to get the perfect person.
No, absolutely. I totally acknowledge that. But I also feel like initially that could be the initial attraction. Like you said, when you were doing worldly things, your approach was different, and you figured out the psychology part of what women want. So you would approach them in a way that would make them like you instantly right off the bat. Whereas most nice guys, or the ones I've experienced, when they're approaching a woman, it can be so awkward, and they're not sure of themselves. They're not confident. First of all, that's something that anybody can smell off of you. If you're not confident,
correct.
Everyone can smell it. So, and then you're talking to your guys, you're pacing, you're nervous. I mean, it's just a bunch of things, and that's automatically like, okay, what are you trying to do? And then now my guard is up, like, okay, he's either going to come up to me, or he's going to send one of his friends over to me, or he's going to ask for my number in a really weird way. Like, it can be very, very awkward. So in a sense, I can see why people think that bad guys are, I guess, the chosen one for like every woman, but that's not the case. I don't want a bad guy. I don't want a guy that will use and abuse me. I want a good guy, but I also want my man to understand what's important to me, what I like. And I feel like women across the board, we're really not that hard to figure out. You guys make it seem like we're like an algorithm or like a math equation.
Not me. Maybe some guys. I think y'all are very simple, actually.
We are very simple. You figured it out a long time ago, right?
I did, but I had to change the algorithm so that I didn't use it to my advantage. Now I use my powers for good and not evil.
You should. But yeah, I mean, we're very easy to figure out. And to your point of approaching a woman differently because you're now, trying to operate differently, godlike and Christian-like, I see what you're saying, but I also let's call a spade a spade. I feel like when people pick their partner, yes, it's for their personality, but part of it is also for their looks. So we can sit up here and pretend all day like that shouldn't be a factor, but it is a factor. A lot of people that are married now, obviously their spouse isn't going to say, yeah, I married you for your boobs or your butt, but that's something that initially attracted them to that person. So it's up to you to get to know that person on a deeper level and connect with them and be attracted to their soul and their spirit. That's important. That's what's going to make that person fall in love with you and stay with you and build with you, especially as a Christian with God in the center of your relationship and a foundation. I think a lot of people forget that the Bible talks about sex all the time. It'll come later on. But for right now, just get to know that person without all these worldly distractions. And I think that, to me, that's where the problem lies, is the worldly issues come into play. And sex is like a huge thing for guys. And it's really not that big of a deal for me, but it is for them. So.
Well, I think, right, that a lot of women choose ungodly men. And this is where the problem comes in, is that women really sometimes what they desire in a man is actually ungodly traits. And they don't realize that what they're desiring is not good. And so they allow themselves to get picked up by ungodly men. I think what women have to do is identify how a godly man treats a woman. And I don't think a lot of church girls actually understand that. Because if you haven't seen that modeled in your home, or if you haven't seen it modeled around you, you don't know what it is. And so sorry.
All these godly things. See, a guy can be godly and he can be very lazy. He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to do anything.
He's not a godly man then, because the Bible says you should. All
these pastors, they're the worst.
Okay. Let me say something. Yeah. Let me just say this. Everybody who calls themselves a Christian is not a Christian. And just because you're a pastor, doesn't mean you're actually a God ordained pastor, right? And so a man can't be godly if he's lazy. Guess why? Because the Bible says if a man doesn't work, he shouldn't eat. So a godly man is not going to come to you and rely on you to feed him. So there you go already. Just because he goes to church, reads the Bible and can quote 125 scriptures, the Bible says, by your fruit you shall know them. So if he doesn't have godly fruit, I don't care how holy he says he is. He's no man of God. So for example, let me give you an example. The Bible says that how can a man take care of the church if he can't take care of his home? If the pastor has a disorderly house, I don't listen to him. If his children don't obey him, he can't preach to me. If his wife hates him, he can't preach to me, because that's Bible. So we need to stop applying godly status to people who are not godly according to the Bible.
See, that's you, and that's fine. That's you, and that's your value. So that's perfect. But there's so many guys out there that do not want to do anything with their life. They have no future ambition. That they go to church, they pray. They're prayer warriors. See,
who are they praying to? They're not praying to my God.
To the Almighty God. I'm telling you.
Nah.
I met one guy. I met one guy. He said he wants to be a pastor in the future. Please. I mean, you want to be a pastor in the future. Currently, he doesn't do anything. No, he's not working. What do you want to do with your life? He's not able to say. I met somebody. I asked him, okay, so where do you actually see yourself in the short term or in the long term? He said he wants to save some money to buy a car for Uber. Okay, in the long term, I want to relocate to Germany and then import cars to sell. Like, what is happening to the guys of this generation? I can't fathom it. I can't fathom it.
You know what?
Honestly,
Yeah, you work for KPMG, right? So in order for you to be
yes.
equally, you need to be looking for a man who is on your level. Like as good as driving an Uber is, it's a fair life. That's not for you. You work for KPMG, so you're gonna need someone who's on your level.
But the problem is, I do not. So when I meet a guy, I don't really care as to what he's currently doing or the levels, because the levels can be very limiting. There are not so many guys that are up there, or
True.
So when you try not to raise the bar too high,
True.
so that
Yeah.
you don't. I mean, of course, you won't find anybody at the end of the day, or maybe a married man or something. But
Slim pick.
sorry, Colin, what did you say?
I said slim pickings. I know.
Exactly. So, so,
You enjoyed saying that a
so,
bit too much for my liking, but anyway.
so I mean, but so what you try to do is you try to just meet the guy, get to know him. Is he passionate about? So what's he passionate about? Do you see him getting somewhere? And how can you help him? Because at the end of the day, a woman is supposed to support her man.
Correct.
Yes. So I try not to look at where you currently are. I try to
Yeah.
look into the future to see where you're going. What do you want for yourself? Where are you headed? Are you passionate? Are you ambitious? And then the rest of it will come to you. But the guys these days are so lazy. They don't even want to do anything with their lives. I'm telling you, they don't want to do anything with their lives. And at the end of the day, it's just like, it's just frustrating. So everybody should just day their day. Don't waste my time and don't let me waste your time.
I would say
Everybody
this.
should just day.
Yeah. I would say this. I think that's a very good attitude you take, because as much as it's ideal that your husband should earn more than you, it might not be the way. But if a man is to lead the house, right, when the Bible talks about leading, it's talking about spiritually. Like a man is supposed to be the spiritual head of the home, right? So I would say to this, if a woman marries a man who's less spiritual than her, that's illegal. Because how can your man lead you if he's less spiritual than you? And that is the issue. I see a lot of women who are very spiritual and they marry unspiritual men. Or
You're still missing the point. There are some guys that are very spiritual and they are lazy.
no, you see, no, because no,
Oh.
I don't see how they match up. Because if you are spiritual, God should be telling you, get a job. Yeah, because before Adam got Eve, he had responsibility in the garden. God didn't just give him Eve; He gave him the animals. He said, name them. And then the Bible doesn't even say that God just gave him. It said Adam realized that the animals weren't a help for him. And so when Adam realized that the animals weren't his partner, that's when God gave him Eve. So a man has to come to a place of maturity so he can know what he needs in a woman. That's why he can pick you, right? Because he's come to that place of maturity. And unfortunately, a lot of women are settling for men who never got to that place of maturity. And because you're naturally helpers, you think you can make men into men. God has never given you that job. You can't make a man into a man. If he's not a man already, it's leave him alone. And a lot of women are marrying men who are not men. They're marrying men they're more spiritual than. And so the woman is now, she's paying the bills and she's the spiritual head of the house. That's disorder. So
that's
the
why I'm
man
still
has to be the
single.
spiritual head of the home. If he's less spiritual
That's
than you,
why I'm still
leave him alone.
single. So please.
That's why you're single.
I refuse to spend less. So that's a good point that you made. But you said something earlier, Michael.
Did you say you refuse to marry someone who earns less than you?
No, I said I refuse to settle for less.
Oh, settle for less. And no, and you shouldn't. I agree.
Okay, but I have a question for you, Michael, because you said a lot of women go for ungodly qualities. Is that what you said earlier? I didn't really understand that. What do you mean by that?
So there are certain behavioral attributes that men display. Like we was talking about, you say, women like certain characters and bad guys, right? So you would have women who say they like guys who are kind of aggressive and edgy, right? They go for this guy who's so-called a good guy, but very aggressive. And then what ends up happening? He ends up beating him up. Because that aggression and that edginess wasn't a godly aggression or edginess. Because men can be godly aggressive, spiritual, prayer warriors, so to speak. But he shouldn't be so aggressive that he's beating you up. That's not the point of the aggression, right? And so I think because a lot of women in church, they listen to more secular music, watch more reality TV, watch more television and are on more blog sites than reading their Bible, they don't know what a godly man is. And so they take Real Housewives of LA, Love and Hip Hop, and they take what they see from there, and they take the attitudes of the women on there, and then they behave like those women, and they attract those men who cheat on them. Because as you say, sex will never keep a man. It's if a man needs to fall in love with the inner you, because you're going to get old and ugly. So what's going to keep him with you? It's going to be the fact that you two have become one flesh, and he loves you, the inner being. Like the Bible talks about, women should work on their inner beauty. Right. So as you were rightly saying, women should work on their inner beauty, because your outer beauty will fade. Beauty is doesn't last long. So, in 20.
But going back to what you said women are aggressive men. I think
that was an example. I think women are attracted to evil a lot of the times, and they don't know it's evil.
I don't know about all that.
No, I do know, because listen, right? We were all born into sin, right? And we all are fighting against fleshly nature, which is corrupt. And so what appeals to our flesh, we sometimes say, oh, if it makes me feel good, then it must be good. That's what the world says. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible says the heart of man is exceedingly wicked. And sometimes we confuse what appeals to our flesh with what should appeal to the Spirit of God in us. And so we go based off how we feel and our emotion rather than what God said is right. And so that's how a lot of women who are ahead of men spiritually and naturally will choose a bad man, not necessarily because they're a bad woman, but because they've been tricked, like Eve, into believing a lie. Yeah. So
yeah, but see that before.
Sorry, say that again.
Michael, how old are we? Please. That we are trying to live a lie. How old are we?
No, well, I will say when people get to your age, they get sensible. But when they're in their 20s, not so much. Okay,
because I was wondering that I can't relate to everything you said because I don't understand. I can't relate.
I think that's culture also plays. I think that's where also cultural nuances come into it. To break down what Michael was trying to say, it's
Yeah, I understood what he was trying to say. I'm just saying that I can't really relate, maybe because I'm older.
I think so.
And
it's also the way you carry yourself. So this comes back to what Michael said earlier. Sometimes the way somebody carries themselves will let a man know the kind of standard he has to come to you with. So automatically you weed out a lot of people because when they look at how you carry yourself, it acts as a mirror against their life, and if they don't measure up, or they don't think, more importantly, that they measure up, they know it's a no-go. So that's why you haven't encountered such people, and you also have built quite a good radar in terms of being able
Let me give you an example of what Ola's saying.
Yeah.
See, because you work for KPMG, right? There are some guys who will approach you whatever you are. They don't care, right? They're just numbers. They're going to approach 1 million girls and they're going to get one. But because I heard you work for KPMG, I know I can't just come to you with any kind of talk because you're a serious person. You work for a good corporate company. But because I'm not, do you see what I'm saying? So just the fact that I know your profile, okay, I can't just come and say anything to this girl because when she goes for lunch, when she goes into office, when she goes to work, she's dealing with serious people all day. She's not dealing with nonsense. So I can't come to her with nonsense. I have to come to her with a level of conversation that might interest her. So that alone is setting up the standard for me. Do you see what I'm saying? Just even the job you have.
No, but
I would look at it.
A lot of men have approached her still in a very
exactly.
They don't have sense.
Yeah,
that's where the radar comes into it.
That's the point.
Because of your experiences now, you built up quite a good. Yeah.
That was my point earlier. It doesn't matter what you, it doesn't matter what they know about you or their perceptions or assumptions. Yeah. Men have it in their mind how they want to approach you in the first place. If they want to approach you any riffraff type of way, they're going to do that. If they want to approach you in a respectful and attractive way to where you're going to say yes to a date, they're going to do that. I don't agree with you thinking that because of her, you know, the position she has with KPMG or me dressing more conservatively, that really won't make a difference.
I'm speaking for me and a lot of men, but there are some men that all of that doesn't matter. I'm just talking for me and a lot of people I know.
Yeah, you're very you're definitely part of the less popular crowd. Far as how men approach women.
I'm definitely not.
And this comes back to what he was trying to allude to in terms of you have men in church, but are they really living the godly biblical standard of manhood? So
most are.
Yeah. So, and that is what comes back to my point of there's been this breakdown in terms of none of us, or when I say none of us, I'm speaking generally, really understand what the standards are and the expectations placed on us by the teachings of someone like Paul. And because of that, we're still trying to, we're basically figuring out and going on the fly. So you will get some of the men that have actually had their minds renewed, which is very few.
That's my
point. And then you will have the riffraffs that are still, yes, they're in church, but they're still trying to do it like the Mandems on road, as we'll say.
That is the real point. A lot of people you're dealing with, and I'm going to say this for women as well, because I believe most women in church get sensible. If they're not married, they get sensible in their 30s. So a lot of what I'm saying is not going to apply to Lalade because she's sensible now. But I think a lot of women in their 20s...
I've always been sensible, excuse me.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I can't say, but for me...
No, I'm telling you.
A lot of women in their 20s are not sensible in church. But when they get to 30, 35, 33, 35, and they realize, okay, I'm just going to live for God.
Guys, see, you know, all the examples I've given you are guys my age.
Right.
I mean, at 33, you're not sensible. When are you going to be sensible, please?
And I date older men, so... You have to also remember with the 20-something thing, I'm not your average 20-something-year-old. I'm very mature for my age. One, I'm an old soul. Two, and I have standards. So I'm not I don't know what you're trying to compare.
I was making a generalization. I wasn't necessarily talking about you. I was taking it personally. I was making a generalization.
I don't see what you're seeing. And maybe it's from a woman's perspective. But
I
don't
see it around you in your circles.
No, not really. Here's the thing, too. You have to understand, if a woman's not ready to get married or, seriously date, she's okay with having sex. A lot of women of the world are okay with just having sex with men. The issue is try to be deceitful and they're not forthright with what they want to do. They'll pretend like they want to get in a relationship with you when really what they could have just said in the very beginning is, I want to have sex with you. And if I say no, guess what? Another woman's willing to have sex with you. So you can find
they want you because you're the conquest. They don't want the other woman. Otherwise they wouldn't.
Right. Well, I mean, it depends on the woman, like I said.
Well, they will go for you and the other woman because they want everything.
Like I said,
that's how it works.
Well, but that's the issue, is they're very deceitful. So it's not necessarily us liking worldly things. I don't think any woman sees red flags from the very beginning and still jumps in 100%.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. A lot of women see. Listen, let me tell you, I was one big red flag and I shouldn't have had the success I did. I call it success. It was evil. But I was one big red flag. From the Ask Ola, if you saw me out on the night out, I was a red flag. Yeah, women like evil. I'm telling you, not all women, sorry. A lot of women like evil and they don't know they like evil because I was a red flag and I was very honest with women. I would never go up to a woman. I've never told a woman I loved her to go out with her. I never told her, I never promised her anything. I was quite open. But women still think that they can help a bad guy into being a good guy. This is a part of your gift and your curse. Because you are so helpful and nurturing, you think you can turn bad guys into good guys and you can't. That's the problem.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All lazy guys.
See, you've tried to turn a good guy into a bad guy into a good guy before, haven't you? It's just nature.
I don't think I've tried to change him, but sometimes I do. We have a save about us women. So there's been times where I feel like, or if they ask me not to like cut ties with them, I feel bad. And not trying to put his business out there, but there was a guy that I used to date. He had issues. He came from a broken home. He was sexually assaulted when he was young. So that was the reason why he became so of the world. And he became a sex addict. To me, he was a sex addict. And of course, that's not the type of person I would want to date. So from earlier on, I told him, we can be friends, but I'm not interested. What kept him in my life was him, I would say things sometimes, and I don't know. I'm actually surprised he never took offense to it because, like I said, I can be very blunt, but I told him he's a sex addict and I told him he needs help. But he actually went and got help. Like, he actually listened to me. So I don't try to fix people, but sometimes I can tell them what their problem is. Like, I don't know. I'll tell you what the problem is.
Oh gosh. Okay, this is interesting. So we this conversation's just taken on many different turns. I don't want to keep you guys too long unless you want to stay for longer. But in your minds, to wrap up, what's next for you in terms of, okay, you're not running after a guy, but you want to get married. Are you working on yourself? What are you working on within yourself to make sure that you're a wife? Because you're not supposed to become a wife, you're supposed to be a wife, right? So what are you working on in yourself to be a wife?
My inner peace.
You have turmoil?
Not turmoil, but there's certain things that really shouldn't get to me or anger me the way it does. And I'm working on that. There's certain things I can't control either. And I have to be okay with that and be patient, like Lalu was saying, and just wait on God. So I'm working on my inner peace.
Okay, thank you. Lolade?
So I was thinking about the question and I'm not even sure how to answer it. What am I working on? So what I have said I will do is, some years ago, I would say I'll get married first and then do this and then do that. But what I've told myself is enjoy enjoy this phase, basically. So if you want to travel, travel. If you want to have fun, have fun. If you want to develop yourself, develop yourself. I pushed doing a master's for so long and I've just picked it up. I am constantly developing myself and in being a better version of myself. And then if the guy comes along the way and we sync, then we move, we proceed. But I'm not just going to put my life on hold to wait for a guy, to wait for unknowns, So I don't feel like anybody can ever be ready for marriage because it's a lifetime of lessons. So while I'm trying to be a better version of myself, I'm also mentally trying to prepare myself as well. But I think for the most part, you learn. It's a learning process. So when you get married, you get to learn about the person afresh. Even though you guys have been friends forever, you just get to see different versions of the person. So it's a learning process. I'm not preparing to get married per se, but I'm just continually I'm working on myself, I'm developing myself, and then when the guy comes, then we proceed. If not, then life continues.
Good. I like that. Ola, finish with you.
In terms of what I'm doing, I'm just cracking on with the vision that God has given me in my life. And in the meantime, I keep my eyes open and I'm watching and I'm praying.
Amen. So thank you very much, guys. Obviously, the topic was the struggle is real, and based on what we said tonight, it really is real.
Struggle is real. Struggle is real.
Yeah, thanks very much. I appreciate that. It was interesting to hear your differing opinions on why you're not married or the situations that you've been in. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.